Welcome to Twins Movie Review.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Luke. And today we're going to be doing Avatar. The Blue People Avatar.
Avatar, the Blue People movie?
Not to be, I always seem to have to say it because
now wait, is it just called Avatar?
It's just called Avatar.
Because there's a sequel coming out.
Called Avatar, the
Way of Water. So I'm just saying, that's why we need to differentiate. This is just called Avatar, not Avatar The Last Airbender or anything else.
That's what I'm saying, because there's that out. And
it's just called Avatar.
People are like, oh, Avatar that? I'm like, no. I personally don't even care for the anime either on that, because I'm like,
I know some people who really love
the movie
both versions, or one or the other version of Avatar The Last Airbender, and I think it's a fun fantasy world both ways.
Yeah, the movie wasn't too bad overall.
But the fantasy movie we're talking about today is
Avatar. The James Cameron movie.
Now, Luke, we do our ratings at the end, so I don't want to spoil anything. You know, we don't often discuss the movies beforehand, so it's kind of fun doing this because it might surprise him my take on it, and it might surprise me his take on it. So I just would like to know, just going into just right now, overall, did you like this movie?
Overall, no. There was some stuff I could appreciate artistic-wise, but no, there are a lot of story stuff that really...
So no is his answer.
Yep, sorry.
And my answer is yes. Overall, I did like this movie. So you'll get a pretty balanced review of it this way. Okay, so the overall plot, I usually go over the plot and then Luke hashes out like the intricacies of it and then fleshes out characters. The main plot is it is a fiction, of course. If you don't know, it's basically sci-fi. It is humans, so humans as we know them, too. Mm-hmm. But it's in the future sometime, and we're basically on a different world that has indigenous creatures, some of them that are sentient, that are like people. They're giant blue aliens, mm-hmm. right? And the idea is that there is a company that's there that is mining some very, very valuable minerals and things from this planet where these people are and all these crazy creatures. And they have people who are basically like mercenaries working for this company. So like military or ex-military effectively. And they have the goal to mine the stuff, but the indigenous people are keeping them from mining it, getting in the way. That's the base plot. And the characters that come in, the protagonist, the main character, is an ex-Marine. He used to be a Marine. He got wounded and lost the use of his legs. So he's a paraplegic, rolls around in a wheelchair. And he had a twin brother. Lucas and I are twin brothers. We're not identical. I know. Shocking. So we don't share like almost identical DNA. These guys, because identical twins come from the same egg, do. So it just so happened that he had a twin brother who was a smart scientist type guy who was part of a program to get to know and learn stuff about the indigenous people. And they literally like grew and made like the technology of the future, biological technology, like the sciences have advanced so far. They're able to make things called avatars. It's a literal, like near you, like a person, like a full body. It's not a like Pacific Rim where it's a giant robot, you know. It's a Jaeger that you can pilot. No, it's a body that you pilot by syncing your brain with it. And then you can pilot it around as if it is your own body. Not you're having to press buttons and do controls. You're lying almost in stasis and controlling it. And his twin brother died tragically. And so they were like, well, hey, he's got an identical twin. So this amazingly expensive, irreplaceable thing can still be used if we use this soldier. And he's going to go in and learn about the aliens, you know, the culture and stuff. And they're trying to figure out things with them. And ultimately, the company is trying to, for PR purposes, they're like, we're not going to kill a native population like a race. We wouldn't do that.
Because they haven't done it yet. And they're the main pocket of the ore that they're trying to get, which is called unobtainium.
Unobtainium, which I don't have a problem with because there's so many things in comic books like infantanium, adamantium's an okay one actually. I think
vibranium.
Vibranium again because vibrations in it absorbs
I don't like
it.
The name of some
impossible
of these,
or whatever different metals. You're gonna run out eventually of fictional metals or what to call it, and there's no reason why in the future somebody wouldn't find something. We just can't even get it, and it floats and it has these amazing chemical properties that defy the laws of physics. We're going to call it unobtainium. It's just almost impossible to get your hands on, and it floats away. Okay, that's clever. That's fun. I could see them calling that, but some people really got hung up on that. They didn't like the fact it was called unobtainium, and I thought, I could totally see somebody calling it that, and why not?
But the main deposit is underneath a
tree.
The world tree. Their tree. Basically,
it's not called the world tree.
No, but it looks like
World of Warcraft.
Tree is basically, if you know World of Warcraft, which I'm nerding out here, it looks like the world tree type of thing. In Ferngully, there's this big tree. It's the same type of things, but the main deposit is underneath there, and the company wants to get their hands on it, and they're like, well, plan A is to try to talk the natives into letting us
move out of the way so we can get it. Basically,
let us mine underneath. And
can we trade you things for it? Can we sell something to you for it? Can we help you move?
Negotiation.
Yeah, basically, they didn't have a good way of doing that without being able to communicate with them. So they speak a different language. They have different culture. All these different things. So this guy's brought in with a small team of other people, and basically the aliens are. I mean, they're bipedal. They have 2 legs, 2 arms, a head. They look somewhat like us, but they're tall, blue,
gangly,
like long necks, super gangly, like lithe, nimble fingers, all these things. And the whole idea, though, as you go through this movie, is Jake Sully, the protagonist, that ex-Marine, isn't able to use his legs. He pops himself up in this machine, and then he syncs, his mind with this avatar, and it's a person who looks not quite, pretty much like the aliens. Not exactly, but very, very close.
There's similarities. Yeah, you could see.
Yeah, you could see how they might look some different, but pretty much the same. And they're designed that way, right? They look the same, and he has to learn. And the cool thing is, it's his mind synced with this thing, and it has legs that work just fine. So his legs work. He can walk and run and all sorts of things, right? So he actually is having to acclimate. And like most movies, it's fun because the audience is experiencing new things along with a character. If it's like a fish out of water or this thing, it's a good like narrative. It's a good critical thing in books and in movies.
When you learn as the character.
Because it's not just, here's a bunch of exposition flying at you, like explanations. It doesn't make sense why this character would say it. Well, it does make sense because Jake Sully doesn't know these things. He's brand new to all this. So it made sense. It was a good vehicle to get that there. But terrible and great things ensue, where Jake gets to know the people, of course, and their mystical ways and different things about them. And he's like, okay, I'm basically a spy for this guy who used to be a famous general or colonel.
Yeah, he was some war hero or whatever. Then he turned mercenary. Something happened.
Yep, which he's fine. He's just a tough as nails mercenary guy. He's fine. But he's like, hey, I'm all about that. Like, get him to move, figure it out. Let me know, like, give me inside intel, though, so if we have to do something else, we can. Like, I need information. Can you get it for me? And since this guy's an ex-soldier, he's like, yeah, I'll get it for you. And, of course, all of that is kind of the setup. So from here on out, it's spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers. Inevitably, as you would expect, of course, there's nothing new under the sun. That's what happens, is he finds out the information.
Yep. That's pretty much what happens. The different things I didn't like about it were the world didn't look very lived in, though, to me. It looked very like they'd roll around and they wouldn't get dirty. Like if you roll around and stuff, even in that
some they do, but it was hit or miss.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of.
There's plenty where they're like getting dirty, getting muddy, things like that. The world was beautiful. It's this alien planet, and there's like bioluminescence everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're walking on the ground, and like moss stuff is lighting up and jumping on a tree, and the little flowers light up.
Which is fine, but when they got dirty or whatever, it just seems like that was an intentional scene. Like rather than when you're moving, when you're tumbling around, you're gonna get a bit dirty. They didn't seem to add that for some stuff.
And I maintain that the humans did get dirty, but the aliens...
The humans did.
The humans did, though. They did get dirty, but I'm saying...
Seem to.
It was the aliens, I feel like their skin and different things are probably different, but even them, like when he was rolling his first night, he accidentally got separated from his group when he was in the Avatar, right? Mm-hmm. So he technically is safe back at... which was a cool, weird concept. He's safe. Back at base camp or whatever.
That's kind of the thing. It's like he's supposed to be safe back at base camp. His body's supposed to be,
It was.
But then later on, it shows his body pod out in the middle of nowhere, and just happens to show up next to that general guy.
No, that's... So we'll get to that. That's not an inconsistency. It's a correct thing that happens. So, what happens, though, is he has his first night out there, and then he survives it and everything, and even all the scientist people who didn't believe in him and are like, he's just a dumb jarhead, he's just marine stupid. He survived, and he survived because these weird little creatures floated on him, and this warrior alien woman was going to kill him, and
She decided.
and saw that, like,
Yeah.
it floated on her arrow to be like, hey, don't shoot him. And she was like, oh, okay. It knows something we don't. So there's this great all-knowing, like, mother tree spirit that the little floaty, like,
Yeah, they're like a hive mind of or
willow,
something.
whisper willow, whatever
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Right. Like a hive mind that they know. And so she's like, okay, there's something I don't know here. And instead they take him in. He learns their cultures. She befriends him. And then eventually they, like, fall in love and they have sex under a big tree.
Which that part is kind of weird too, because
It
the
is just
same
weird.
part that the same thing that they use to have sex to mate, they use to tame the animals.
We don't know that. See, they have these basically, they're
It's the same
they
mechanical.
have, they have tails, but then they also have these dreadlocky things that you see, and it, like, has little scriggly things that they can use to connect to other things. But it didn't say that that's the only thing they do to mate. It didn't say that. They couldn't mate
It
with...
looked like it, but
No, but that'd just be part of it.
yeah.
It could be other stuff. Either way, it didn't matter to me. I was like, that's weird, because then I thought, well, it couldn't be just that, because they do that to connect to, like, horses and these flying
Yeah, I'm
creatures
like,
they
there's-
ride.
What
So
the
it
heck?
can't be just that. It has to be other physical things. But again, James Cameron directed this, and he made the choice not to get into the intricacies of the mating rituals of the Na'vi. That's the name of them.
Which is fine, but you got to make some sort of distinction. Say this is this, that. 'Cause
So
if you use the same mechanical, it seems like you're making.
it's a thing to be able to communicate with something, to be able to bond with it in some way.
Right.
So Natiri, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's.
I think Natiri is the name of the woman warrior who's going to shoot him and didn't.
Because they're the Na'vi creatures.
Yeah, the Na'vi are the aliens. But he gets in. It's kind of predictable. It's exactly what you would think. It's basically.
Yeah, if you've seen Ferngully, if you've seen Dances with Wolves,
Yep.
if you've seen any of those others.
I feel like there's another two. Somewhat Pocahontas.
Pocahontas a little.
And then there's another one, and I'm forgetting it right now. But that's okay. It's all kind of
Especially Ferngully.
kind of that same type of thing. And
Yeah.
and then he realizes, oh, it's so much more important and amazing, and these people are great, and their culture is amazing, and actually, all the plants are alive, and the trees are alive, and everything. And so they actually are communicating with the spirits of the past. They actually are, like, the spirits of the past, or the people who've passed on. Like, their memories are, like, almost like digitally stored in this network of tree roots and branches and all sorts of things. It's interesting. The science on it's pretty loosey-goosey, but it's like, oh, here's this thing that explains in a scientific way this spiritual
But I
thing,
didn't get
mystical
how the
thing.
avatars, which the creatures, they weren't the
Not the
Na'vi,
actual Na'vi, the pretend ones.
The pretend ones, how they were, because if they were to be able to reproduce and stuff, okay, you got to be able to. Did they take the egg of like a Na'vi?
They don't.
and
They,
the
who?
egg?
Maybe they're mammals. Maybe they don't need
Basically-
eggs. Maybe you don't know. They don't get into it.
Did they test tube baby them and then they're
They got some of their
inhabiting-
DNA and they mixed it with the human DNA that they were specifically going to use. That part I remember when they grew
Right.
it in a test tube. I don't
But
remember
I'm
anything
like,
beyond that.
like if humans, you grow a human in a test tube, they have a soul type of thing. They have a mind of their own.
And these things don't.
So I'm like,
Which is the idea. The Na'vi say that they know that they're not spirit walkers, but something else. They know that
Alright.
their actual body's somewhere else because
I'm
it's
like,
been explained to them.
if this Na'vi that he's inhabiting had a mind of its own, then you're basically imprisoning this. It's pretty.
Oh no, it's just it's literally a shell. It's just organic tissue that they've grown like brain, all these different things. So the framework is there. There's nothing inside it at all. There's nothing to give it life, to give it spark for the brain or anything. But then they Frankenstein another brain into it, another mind into it.
So it's not like a test tube baby. It's more of
Not quite. It's like a mix.
It kind of it's weird. That was a little.
But anyway,
Confusing.
it all goes wrong because they find out, hey, there's a huge node of this stuff right under the tree, and Jake Sully gives them the information to say, hey, you knock out these pillars and that tree's done. And then they finally say, we're tired of waiting, we give up, and we're gonna go get rid of this tree. And Jake basically, with this other Na'vi, like there's big machines rolling over things,
and another mercenary,
and he jumps up. Oh yeah, and humans can't breathe in this environment. They can survive breathing, like if they hold their breath for like 20 seconds, and then within a minute they'll die because the environment is poisonous gas. So they have to wear masks and stuff around or be inside a vehicle or something.
Right.
So that's important to note. Get out of here, helicopter. Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
So loud.
I hate that. When you're trying to sleep, they're like, and I'm like,
we don't live
it's
that.
not as bad.
I feel like we don't live that close to the airport, but then I hear that and I'm like, we live plenty close to the airport. It's
So it
great.
doesn't happen all the time, but every now and then we get this, and I'm like,
Yeah. So anyway, the military eventually, because they're like, oh, Jake Sully's betrayed us, and he like jumped up and knocked out a camera on a machine so it would stop like rolling over a grove of trees or whatever, things like that, right?
on the way to the, I call it World Tree.
Yeah, but even then, I don't know if they were going to, at that point in time, they were just clearing out stuff, but they basically lock him up and are like, oh, he's bad now, and we're going to go blow this up. So they get all the military might going to do it. But all the things that Jake has learned, how to ride horses and stuff, and he learned how to ride these giant flying, like,
yeah, he tames one of them.
super pterodactyl things that he, like, subjugates, and he tames it and stuff, and then he flies all over because whoever has that super pterodactyl is like the big super chief.
And he got the best one.
He got the best one, so he goes all around their world.
He's the chosen one.
Gathering the tribes because he's the chosen one who's not, a native, but he's the chosen one. And he's like, you gotta come and fight. So it's a big standoff and big fight. Some people who are on the bad side don't fight or refuse to fight or kind of, are like, oh, never mind, I'm not going to do this. Some are fighting for the good guys, the Na'vi, and, they die or whatever. There's all sorts of stuff like that happens.
And the plants and animals come to their aid.
Yeah, there's
to the World Tree's aid.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's a mother tree or whatever.
There.
But the final fight is between the big colonel, general guy, whatever. And we really should know. So Sigourney Weaver's in this. She plays
she did a good job.
a supporting role as the main head scientist who's doing stuff. And then there's
the guy that was in the son in Gone in 60 Seconds. Not son, the brother.
So
he was
so
also.
you know all the names of the other actors?
No, I don't. But
Me
there was
neither.
also the guy.
They're fine, by the way. They're fine.
No,
We're not being mean.
He played.
I just don't remember.
The head of that guy played the head of the corporation.
Giovanni Ribisi.
And then there was the one who played in Dodgeball as the guy that was up to I want to say Estonian. She was like East European. And he suggested a car wash.
No clue.
Anyway, he plays one of the scientist guys.
So there's some good names in this and good people who do some cool stuff. It's fine. Yeah, he plays one of the good scientists. But here's the thing. The scientists and the Na'vi are the good guys, basically. And the evil corporation is the bad guys. And they're coming to kill things they don't understand and just destroy things to try and get rich.
It's all about greed. Yep.
It's all about greed. Now, this is where Luke and I will probably differ some, but maybe we'll find some common ground. I think that is a tale as old as time, but I do think, imperialism and conquering and war and bloodshed and stuff, I don't like it. I think it is bad. But when I was watching this movie, these are mercenaries working for this company, right? But a decent amount of them who are working for them are like part of a crew on a ship, or they're, doing these other things. And I counted multiple times, and I get needlessly emotional for things, but I get choked up because all the ones in this one vehicle got killed. Even though they weren't actually doing anything, they're just like mowing down forest stuff, and then they stopped and they go, whatever, they get killed or they get whatever, like killed. Mm-hmm. And they're just doing their job. They're just loggers, right? They're just doing their job. Now you can be like, oh, you're just doing your job. That's no excuse. Okay, some aren't aware of all the intricacies of what's going on. They're like, oh, they could have been told, they could have been lied to.
Right.
They're savages, and not just savages like we were told the Native Americans were savages, but actual, like, maybe not even
Not
sentient.
sentient at all.
Or if they are, we've tried to reason with them and they've done terrible things to, or whatever.
And we're basically just moving them.
Yeah, we're trying to relocate them. Or these are ones that have attacked us and we're just retaliating with appropriate force, and we're doing that. There's all sorts of things that could have been told, but even not being told, you wouldn't know necessarily. And they get like cut down and gunned down, and all sorts of things happen to them. And there's so many that aren't necessarily bad guys. Again, mercenary to people's brains, I think they automatically say bad guys. And that's not true. Mercenaries aren't. There's another movie that's an amazing movie you should check out for multiple reasons called Morbius. Same type of thing. There's more mercenaries, and they all get killed in this part of the movie, and you're like, that's fine. Until you stop and realize, wait, they were mercenaries for these scientist group people who weren't doing anything wrong or evil. And one was kind of rough around the edges and mean to this guy, and then you're like, so these are bad guys. They can die. And then they do die, and it's okay.
Well, the mercenaries, for the most part, I tend to not like, because the definition is like, we work for the highest bidder no matter who they are.
Yeah, violence for hire.
But there are some who have a conscience, who have a moral compass and stuff, who don't take different contracts because of different things. So you got to think of it that way. They're not like...
But some of them, like you said, though, they take it for those different reasons. Okay, but this is a whole big, huge group. It's not just little ones piecemeal. It's like a big company that got hired.
But also, like you said, they're like, I'm this technician on this thing. That was my job.
Yeah, what do you know?
So
you're a scientist. You're a mechanic. Whatever. I'm a mechanic. I'm working on this truck.
So they're not like mob hitmen or different hitmen for a criminal organization where it's
right.
Like, I like that line in Sin City. It was I can't think of that guy's name, the actor, but he said, "Man, I don't mind killing hitmen because," or something. I totally screwed up that line. But
it's okay. We'll edit all this out because I don't know who this is, and this is in the weeds. So just when you get the line, say it, and we're good. That's like half the stuff I say, and I'm like,
no matter how many I kill, I don't feel bad because they're
bad people or whatever. Yeah. Which I get. So anyway, enough of that point, but I'm just saying that did bother me because they tried to paint it as like, look, audience, see, it's very black and white.
Yeah,
bad guys, good guys. And I didn't feel it was very clear. A lot of people found this movie very heavy-handed. They thought it was like,
very hippie-ish.
Hyper hippie environmentalism and green and whatever. I've stated before, I'm conservative. I think more that way, and I didn't feel that at all from it. I could see how people could, but I didn't feel that at all from it. I didn't feel it was heavy-handed. I'm like, no, that's the narrative of what's going on here. These guys are doing this thing. It is greedy. That is human nature. I think they would do that reasonably. They don't know this thing. Again, a lot of the people involved don't have all the information. So if they did, I think, okay, there's this one pilot in the whole organization that's like, forget this. I'm not going to do this. This is wrong. But nobody else would. Everybody's evil. Come on. All of them. Nobody would stop and say, hey, no, this is bad.
Seeing that,
they don't know.
That's part of the thing that really kind of bugged me too, is that you had this one pilot that's like, oh, no, I'm not going to fire on the street. Well, what about all the others? And, okay, if she doesn't, she could also suffer consequences. So it's...
Well, and she does.
But
like,
only
she
one
has
person. I thought this was after...
No, this happened before. So the big...
But like you said, there'd be other people that'd be like...
There would be. There would be some that would be like, we're not okay with this. And there may have been, but there wasn't enough of them. I believe there was some, but they're all the scientist group.
Looked like only one as far as the...
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver and her scientist group were good. When she realized that Jake was kind of maybe betraying them a little, but she knew she needed him still, she sneakily was like, hey, we're actually going to go up to this initial outpost we had a few years ago and use it. And it's not our main base, but it's like a base out kind of in the wild, in the wilderness. We're going to go up there and operate from there for a while. Just, no big deal. And she did that to try and get him away from them, to where she could, influence him towards seeing their side of things, seeing, hey, the Na'vi are peaceful people and we need to learn their culture and we need to not be so quick to be like, hey, get out of the way and we want this stuff you have.
See, I thought his bed was still back at the regular base. I thought that's just they
No, the pod thing.
Yeah.
So the pod thing, they specifically pointed out. They said, okay, we're there at this remote one.
Mhm.
So later on in the movie, when basically lines get drawn and people split up to do their different sides, he's taken to either that one or they have to move it, but all they need is basically this big trailer and a pod that's in it that he can operate from remotely.
Right.
And that's what they do. That's where they're operating from, so he can go gather all the clans and stuff when he does that. Again, he's not doing it. His mind is doing it through the avatar going and doing those things.
So it was it was the pod on a trailer that was
Yeah.
just out in the middle of nowhere.
And it wasn't just out in the middle of nowhere. It was specifically their remote location that they had
because
before.
there wasn't anything else around, just that pod.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep,
it's
correct.
like,
Because that was the one that said, "Hey, we just do some stuff from there." So they could be literally, so their actual scientists too could be
Mhm.
literally physically closer to the people. Which, why does it matter if you're all in avatars anyway? And then your other scientists are just using the data and things. They don't need to be out and close to the thing. But for whatever reason, I could imagine that happening over the years, something happening. So later, the big fight that happens, Jake Sully's like defending himself with his avatar as the guy is trying to assault his actual body that's in this pod thing. And then Natiri comes to his aid and defends him and stuff. And like the guy's thing gets cut off of because he's in a big mech basically and fighting. And the top comes off of it, so he's tough as nails though, because he showed him earlier going outside to shoot at Jake because he was trying to escape or something, even though the air would kill him. Then he's like, gets his face mask on, puts it on, but
maybe
it's like
he developed a resistance to it. I don't know.
he's just. I think it was supposed to be just basically like, you hear that it's 20 seconds, you'd be okay. Like you could start coughing and stuff and not be able to breathe, but 20 seconds you could be there, but within a minute you can't breathe at all and it's killed you. Or killing you.
Yeah,
And he was out there shooting for like 15, 20 seconds and then got the mask and put it on and was just like he held his breath the whole time and was tough and awesome. And so later, same thing happens, lasts a little longer, but then he gets a face mask on with oxygen, whatever. And they basically fight him and end up killing him. Great. But he did start to get into the pod to kill him.
And I thought he actually got the lid of the pod off, and that's what initiated them having to take him to his body to the tree.
Oh, yeah. So earlier,
Sigourney Weaver's
they took
character.
Sigourney Weaver got injured. Her actual body, she herself got injured.
Yep.
And so they tried to take her.
It's like a fatal. Would have been fatal.
Yeah, a fatal wound to like her gut and stuff. And then I just remembered this part that happened that I was like, this is so dumb. It's so reminiscent of other stuff. But it's done like, it's visually very beautiful. The soundtrack is very good. It's all like artistically, like it's awesome. The production value is high. But I was like, oh, that's like every other thing, whatever. Like, and I don't know why, but I just remembered some movie. It just flashed in my mind all of a sudden. Because he's taking her body and he's like, Grace, do you see where you were at? And she's under the mother tree that they don't ever let any humans at. It's a big deal. And I don't remember what movie it was, but it's some like, they're dying and like, but look where you are. You can see it. And they're like, yeah,
You're home now.
Yeah. It's beautiful or whatever, right?
It's the same type of, yeah.
So it just hit my brain something like, it's exactly like that. But they tried to permanently meld her conscience with her avatar body, and it failed.
And of course, it failed for her, though.
Failed for her, well, because her wounds were too great, is what they said.
That's what they said.
Her wounds were too great. Jake Sully, who survived just fine, he was able to breathe. They brought him back, got him oxygen and everything, and saved his life.
I thought his body got wounded too a bit.
Nope, he was okay. He was all right. He got banged up a little bit. He was fine. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, today's my birthday. And it's his birthday because he's fine. But they end up ending the movie with him joining the tribe permanently and them transferring his body permanently.
And of course, it works for him.
His consciousness over the avatar, like the eye opens up and, blinks and he's there. And that's how the movie ends.
Yeah.
So the way it ends, though, even though I was like, wait, so all the tribes came together. They have all this military might, all these things. They could absolutely trash them. They don't have any air superiority, even with these giant pterodactyl things, all this stuff. the company, there's no way they wouldn't have more resources. They could just pour in and just
could've
trash
come
the
back,
place.
Nope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moab the planet.
Yeah, get everything and then go in and get the ore. No, they're like seeing, like, watch them and guard them as they load up into ships.
And exile them off the planet.
Spaceships with, I'm sure, guns and lasers and things on them too. And exile from their...
communication devices to be like, hey.
I'm just saying. And exile them from the planet. I'm like, well, that wouldn't work. That doesn't make sense. That's why it didn't work for ancient civilizations and cultures, or the United States, the Aztec, like a bunch of ones. That didn't work because we already we have superior technology or whatever it is. But it's, hooray, it's great and safe, and he's new. So that's the plot. We kind of muddled our way through it. I liked all those things about it. I liked the soundtrack was very good. The acting was excellent. The effects, like the visual effects of everything, was so cool. It was amazing. I remember watching, and I like Star Wars, but I remember watching Star Wars Episode 1 and getting pulled out of it a little because I saw a clearly, to me, CGI landscape, like a background, with CGI robots fighting CGI aliens called Gungans. And it just all felt fake.
And the humans looked
I don't care, because this is all Gungans here, and then a fake backdrop, and then robots. None of it's real. And then some of the other fighting going on was in space, which was fake, with fake spaceships. Some of the people in them were real, but like just so much of fake on fake on fake. My brain's just not buying it. It pulls me out of the movie a little bit.
Episode 2 was a little worse for that.
This movie, I didn't feel it pulled me out ever with the effects. It was what it was, like the sweat,
well,
like
you saw it in
perspiration
3D,
they had.
I saw it in 2D.
Avatar?
Yeah.
I guess I don't remember seeing it in 3D. And the last time
you did.
And the last time I watched it just a few weeks ago, it was normal.
So I watched it in 2D. One, I thought it was really boring. It took me like 3 sessions to watch it, like 3 days to watch it. I kept being like, is it over yet? Is it about over yet? Because I found it so boring. Mm-hmm. But it was also, I found it very uncreative. There was just, I know.
Because it's not an original, like, plot.
It's like nothing about it seemed original. It seemed like
you didn't think. I thought the avatars and the fact that you're putting your consciousness into this thing that has to be there, and this guy with no legs, now he has legs, and that's one of the first big experiences he has, is he freaks out.
That one particular thing.
But that whole,
which is the main thing.
It's the titular thing. Avatar.
How they go about executing it
was
and little things were just so unoriginal, like unobtainium. The floating islands, which I see in pretty much every fantasy.
Floating Hallelujah Mountains or whatever, yeah.
And the creatures that you gotta tame, it's like, okay, I've seen the type of thing. I thought it's very heavy-handed as far as green hippie Mother Earth thing, but I'm like, well, I could also kind of see it because it flows with the story. So I'm like, okay, well, it goes with the story. They aren't just flat out saying, hey, have somebody in there just sing crap at you. So I'm like, okay, it goes with the story.
Goes with that culture.
So that could mind as much.
Could be
that. I mean, I still thought it was very heavy-handed, but
sorry.
But anyway, bunch of the ships I thought were unoriginal. The design, like I called them Banshees, the ships that were shooting at the.
Are they called something else?
I think they're called something else than that.
I feel like they are called something else, but they did kind of look like Banshees. Yeah,
Banshees. There's a ship in Command and Conquer, airship.
But here's the thing: there's so he's saying all those things. He says all this stuff. He's not
it's written that there's nothing new under the sun.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But it's true. Like, how many times are you going to be able to do a take on vampires and how they work, or, alien planets and how people would interact, for the first time, or whatever, with Star Trek and Star Wars and just every fiction book under the sun written. Like, you're going to come across themes like that. But the reason I liked it and didn't think it was just unoriginal, because he's not wrong about those things, but I didn't think it was just unoriginal because it's human nature, and it's a learned experience that, of course, greed, or, this person cheated on this person, because of this, and, greed, revenge, lust, lost hope, like all sorts of different human experiences. You're going to feel like it's just a rehash of them. So I liked the setting that it was in, and I felt it was done well, like a good arc, felt even, felt good. ended well. But all the things, like I said, he's not wrong about all those things and that they were in there. So if you were to get tripped up on any of those or caught up on them, you really would end up not enjoying the rest because you're not going to be able to get past that one thing.
I also didn't like the graphics because in a lot of them it looked overlaid to me, and you could see it now. Like I said, I saw it in 2D. I didn't see it in 3D. Heard it was really good in 3D. Heard it was spectacular, graphics wise. But I saw it in 2D, and whenever the humans were in a scene with the avatars, you could see a gray outline around the humans, and then the scenery just seemed kind of overlaid. Like they had the people.
Do you feel like it was that way on
and then
in
they
the,
had
in the
the
big ones
scenery.
though? Do you feel like it was that way in the big scenes? Because I could see that almost like it's painted backdrops for the big ones and against sky and stuff. But when it's like down in the jungle and doing things like that, which I think some of it was real,
Down in
it
the jungle-
felt better anyway. I'll say that.
It didn't seem like that for the most part, but then it felt so clean sometimes. Like I'm like, oh, it's gonna be all right, and then he tumbles around and
He got muddy and dirty.
he didn't get dirty in the different scenes.
You go watch it. He
And-
gets
and
muddy and
some-
dirty. But again, I maintain they could just say, well, he didn't sometimes because they have special skin. These
Right.
avatars.
It was when he was in avatars and the different things. So I'm like, yeah. But then I was also like, this is probably shot for 3D and to look really good on 3D. So and
You
they
know,
got
we're
their
also not
money's
being
worth.
fair in one thing I didn't even think of till just now. How many movies have you seen in 4K, like super high definition?
I haven't
I've
seen
seen.
any.
Oh man, go watch something on a high
That I
def
know
TV. You get used to it and it's fine. All my friends would say that, but I'm telling you, you watch a movie, you're like, whoa, that is clearly a movie set. That is clearly not real. Everything feels fake because it's so detailed. The graphics are so good. It spoils the effect. It spoils the illusion. It's not soft enough effects. And so that gray thing might be true, but what year did this
What
come
is
out?
it?
2008, 9?
Something like that. And I had a high definition TV,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not one of those high definition TVs that speeds up the frame rate.
Right.
I've seen those. I hate those.
Well, I have a rough time. My brain has a rough time adjusting, but I find it fascinating instead of just being like, this is stupid. I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. It makes it look so different. It makes it look like it's real, not a movie.
which is fine.
But I'm wondering if that's, and I don't know this is just speculation. I didn't even think of that. Technology at the time, different, because it's, 10, 15
I
years
thought
ago.
it was just shot for 3D and it was on 2D and it was what was different.
Yeah, I don't think so. And again, if I saw it in 3D, I don't remember seeing it in 3D. The only movie I've seen in 3D that I remember is
I've seen a few.
the first Hobbit movie, and I didn't like it.
Well, I also heard they sped up the frame rate on that, and that.
I don't know. Avatar, I don't think they did. It was shot fine.
One of the reasons why, just kind of on the side, is why they have frame rates different, is because it has more of a cinematic feel, and it takes
Cinematic?
cinematic feel. Sorry, and it takes
Cinematic.
you out of the.
Yeah, but
It's an
that's true.
escapism
The
thing.
softening of it does. You're just
that's-
like, yeah, okay, it's a movie. I'm watching a movie. Whereas if you look and
See,
it's
it's fine for it to be sharp, but it's got to have smooth. It's got to be smooth.
Yeah. Hey,
And like
I'm
you
not
said,
a
if
I'm
I
not a cinema scientist, but
Well, I'm not either.
I know what looks good to me and what doesn't.
So that's the thing. It's like I'm not an artist, but I know what looks good. But I also didn't like though the fact that it seemed like all the character arcs weren't an arc. It seemed like they were really flat.
So his scientist buddy had a character arc. He was like all excited, like, "Hey, welcome, nice to meet you." And then Jake Sully survives his first night and whatever, and everybody's all about him now. And you're one of us, whatever. And the guy feels kind of overshadowed because he was taking him in, he was showing him things and trying to teach him things and being really nice. And then, and Jake was like, "Yeah, whatever," being just like a grumpy Marine. And then when this big thing happened, people were like, "Oh, you're so great, wonderful." He was overshadowed and he was kind of resented him. It's like, you don't even know this and you of course this and what. And he was sullen about it. So he kind of was like up and down. And then he came around again because his true character showed through that he's like, I do care about the science and this guy is nice.
Guy,
And he comes back up and he has a good arc.
Maybe I thought he was just a good guy all through, even at the beginning.
No, even the stuff though, when
Right.
after Jake's first night, you watch it again. After Jake's first night, he treats him poorly. He's kind of mean to him and short with them and just. Ugh.
Really, because I thought he was all right, but
But that's just it. He has a bit of an arc.
Yeah.
Jake Sully does have a definitive arc
how?
because he comes in and he's just I'm I don't even know why I'm here, whatever. He's kind of despondent, depressed. He's a Marine who's lost the use of his legs, and he feels like, I'm a soldier who can't be a soldier anymore. And I guess it's horrible. I guess I'll do this thing. And then he's like, gets a little like, okay, this is interesting. This is okay. I might be all right with this. And then, hey, not only that, but remember you were a soldier, you're a Marine. I'm going to make sure you get an operation, whatever thing. I forgot to mention that. The big general colonel guy offers him this big operation that's super expensive to get his legs back.
But was that a character arc, though? Just because it just seemed like he was moving into different occupations.
Right, but that's...
I saw him as different.
No, that's just the start.
But it didn't seem like...
That's just the start of it. Then he changes. Because that's who you think... If he's going to be that, if he's going to do that, he would stay that way the whole time. But instead, he has a culture open up to him and become vulnerable to him. He sees that, reacts to it in a way he didn't even expect, is vulnerable back, and he grows not just as a person, he grows to be like, oh wait, I should care about this, or there is more to the world than just, my dumb Marine life. And he grows in a way that he wasn't expecting, that, yeah, these stupid aliens who are dumb and we need to get this stuff from them. He's like, oh, maybe that's not it. And there's these other parts of their culture, and it means this and this thing. And when I say I see you, I'm not just saying I see you, it's I see you. I see into your soul. Like, I know you. I get you. And he came to realize that part of him, and then he fell in love, and he was not expecting that at all, with an alien. And then he does all that, and then ends up being the leader and, like, leading this resistance, and, like, definite character
maybe
arc
they
with
just
him.
didn't set it up very well, because at the beginning I thought, oh, that's going to happen anyway. Just how he is, how he's acting.
But it's not, because he's so, like, I lost my legs, I'm a soldier. And then when the guy's like, hey, maybe get your legs back and come and kind of do some spy stuff for me, he's like, okay, yes, sir.
Because he starts out looking for purpose, and then he finds a purpose. And it's like, okay, that's not really an arc.
No, he found his purpose. He's going to spy and find a way for them to get the unobtainium and be good soldiers.
But he really wasn't even sure about that. Part of the thing I didn't like...
You're right, it was. There is a definite arc.
Part of the thing I didn't like, though, was there was a lot of the exposition in the beginning was him just sitting in front of a screen telling stuff. That was the first part.
Because he's supposed to keep video logs. I was like, okay, this is a good way to do exposition. I will say, at least they did, like...
They moved away from it, though.
He talks... Immediately they move away from it, because as he's talking over it, he's giving exposition, but it's playing like he's like, Neytiri sees something in me, but she whatever, and every day we learn new things, whatever. While he is saying this into the video log, and he's just saying it, we, the audience, are getting to see him interacting with Neytiri and how he's learning to ride this horse and this other thing that happens. So it's exposition, so you're like, okay, here we go. But it's at least, I think, a decent way of doing it.
I could be wrong, but I think that, now that I think about it, I think the leader of the corporation maybe has a change of heart, too, at the end. He's like, what have I done? I thought maybe. I'll have to...
a little bit maybe, but pretty much he's just, he doesn't realize, oh man, maybe I went a little too far. But he still did what he did. The colonel, general guy is no arc or whatever, but you do sometimes need your bad guys to be static. You do, and he's the bad guy. He really is the bad guy.
Yeah, but if you have a good villain will kind of have a little bit of there's still some character growth within them, even if it's maybe to the other side.
But I would agree with that. You can't for this one, because it's no part of his origin story. It's no part that would change him. It makes sense that he would think what he thought and do
something
it.
They would maybe is for something for them to add, like maybe he was out and that's how he got wounded. Was a Na'vi wounded him?
No, he did actually. He has a scar on his face.
But was that from a Na'vi?
No, it's from the planet. Okay. So that's just it. He's not like when you objectify something. He's dehumanizing all of it, the whole planet, because it's violent and whatever. And he got scratched up on his face right when he got there. And he's like, "This planet, it'll get you." So,
which if you're gonna fight an enemy, that's what you got to do. But at the same time, they didn't view them as the enemy at first.
Right. You should never dehumanize anybody. You shouldn't. But as a soldier who's like, that's what you have to do to be successful here.
Otherwise, they'll go crazy.
Yeah, like I understood it. But so he's fairly static. Grace is fairly static, honestly. She comes around to Jake Sully, but she seems like
she's Sigourney Weaver's character, right?
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver. You get the feeling she would have been that way anyway. There's no
Yeah, she was leaning towards
there's
him anyway.
yeah, there's no growing up. She's like, "Ah, whatever, you're a dumb jarhead, whatever." But she was, even right away, she was still open and ready for him to learn and whatever things.
It seemed
So
like she wanted to bring him into the, hey, open his eyes about stuff.
yes, and show him the culture and see, hey, these are people because they were dehumanized. Wanted to get him away from that, and it succeeded. But pretty static character. The bad guy, pretty static character. The Natiri, his love interest, the woman warrior, she has a decent,
grew a little
decent. No, she has a decent arc. It's about as limited as you would want it to be. That she's at first just like, and I'll kill him. Oh, I won't. And she's struggling with, okay, everything I know about our culture and the mother tree and what it says, and what it knows more than me, says there's something special. I shouldn't do that, but I don't understand it myself. And she's more inquisitive. She's curious, and then ends up falling in love with him and is trying not to. Is not all about him at all. Does not like him.
So this is kind of a theory.
So it's a good arc for her.
It's kind of a theory that I have is that maybe it's like she's like the mercenary colonel guy, only she goes the other way.
Yeah, because she has, but
they both have a turning point, possible turning point.
Here's the thing: she's supposedly the like. There's two leaders of the tribe. There's the wise woman, basically elder type wise woman, and then there's the war chief, like leader.
And she's like the
leader guy,
leader, right? Oh, never mind.
Nope, she's the wise woman.
Oh,
The war chief leader is the other guy.
Okay.
There's another guy who's a young guy, right? And he's the leader, and he even has a minor arc because he's like, no, stupid. And he's kind of that way the whole time, like making fun of him as he falls down because he can't ride a horse and all sorts of things like that, right? But a lot of it's because he resents him because he basically was like, oh, I was going to get married to Natiri and we were going to be mates.
Well, and then he views him as an outsider too initially.
So an outsider completely, an alien, big time. But then as like a rival and undeserving and all these things. But then he sees, oh, he really does have a warrior spirit. He's a Marine. And he appreciates that. Actually, he sees that and he likes that little part of him, but he still doesn't like him. But then when he proves himself beyond a shadow of a doubt for the mother tree, the world tree thing, to where he bonds with one of the flying things and then the big flying thing, he's sold. He's like, okay, nope, I'm with this guy and I'll follow him. I'm the leader of my tribe. He's the leader of all the tribes, and I'm down with that. And so, not a big arc, but an arc. He definitely grows and he does change who he is. So there's 3 or 4 characters that do have good story arcs, and then the ones that are static, I don't think it matters because they're either minor characters or they kind of need to be.
The others didn't have as big of an arc as that would really made much of an impact on me. And that's just, I think, storytelling.
Which is fine.
A lot of people did like this movie. A lot of people found it great. I think, opinion-wise, there's also, I personally didn't find the Na'vi likable, but that's just me.
So you'd be on the side of the corporation.
No. Just the characters themselves. Not like, oh, they're bad. Just I didn't find them likable.
Definite. If you see this, it's definite like Native American vibes. The way they talk, their language, their culture, all of it. It's definitely heavily borrowed from that.
Yeah,
which is fine. I'm not complaining.
No,
I'm just saying it definitely is. If you can't draw those parallels, that's on you. We have a cute dog here wanting to join us for our book review. She loves all the books. She's so cute. Look at that.
But it's a movie.
Oh, look. Oh, book reviews. She's used to being in book reviews. My wife does book reviews. Sorry. Good girl, Sunny. Oh, you're just so cute. This will be everybody's favorite part of the video. Okay, get out of here.
It wasn't as bad as I initially thought when I initially saw it. But it was very boring.
I think some of the things, if you watched it in a different light and you wouldn't get caught up on those things, you'd enjoy it so much more. But again, that can happen with these movies. We should wrap it up with a rating, though.
Wrap it up, though, and
so
hopefully get to another one. But
we're not getting another one today, man. You kidding me?
Okay. This one did take.
I would say, I tell you what. You come over at 2:30. We've been hour and 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking we'd get maybe.
You're gonna have to edit the tar out of this.
Yeah.
Christmas vacation would be great. We'll have to do that sometime.
But
hey, stop clicking and clacking in there. Come here.
And I'll have just seen it too, because I usually watch it on Christmas.
Tempe. Hey, Temperance. Hi. Hello.
But
we're trying to do a movie review here.
An objective rating out of 11, I would probably give it. Man, I don't know. It's Maybe a 5.
Okay, and I would say 8.5 out of 11.
An opinion rating, I'd give it about a 2.
And mine,
I did not like
for
it.
my personal opinion, well, I'll give it a 9. And then for my personal one, I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's our twin movie
It's
review
been Twin Movie Review. Yep.
with Mark and Luke and occasionally a couple dogs.